like how I do into a post. So here's why I think it wasn't a surprise. My husband would always edit my things because I'm 0% perfectionist. I put things out all the time that just works in progress. And he'd be like, there's a typo here, there's a typo here. And I remember him looking at this post and saying to him, stop, I have to get this out. And I look back to who? To my mom's friends who are following me on Instagram, who don't even know how to use Instagram. Like I was like, who did I have to get that out? But there was this like thing. And so I did. And it went crazy.
It started to become part of the zeitgeist.
And people wanted more and more. And I think around this time I called my sister who's younger. I was like, how do you do an Instagram story? People want me to do stories. I wasn't on social media. I was telling all my clients to get off social media. I thought it was really bad, but this felt different. And then I just started putting out more and more. And I think during that time with so much uncertainty, it's not unlike the time with the fires. People want a sturdy leader. Sturdy leaders, they're not afraid to tell the truth. And I think in general, being told the truth by someone who you feel likes you and believes you, being even told the hard truth by someone who likes you and believes you is like a really amazing human feeling. And we love getting it because it's so rare in our life. And I think that's probably what was compelling.
From your data, and I'm sure it changes over time, but I'm curious in now, what skill is most lacking?
Boundaries.
Say more. I want to go down deep in this because I think it's an unbelievably misunderstood concept.
100%.
And just from a work standpoint, I've had many conversations with people who talk about that they have boundaries and they want their boss, their company to respect their boundaries. And then the great irony is they respect nobody else's. Anyway, I could give you specific examples, but I'll start with that. Anyway,
so I want to give you my definition
misunderstanding
of
of what they are and how they work.
That's exactly right. Having clear definitions of what things are is like the foundation for doing something well.
Yeah.
Clarity. So I'm going to share my definition of boundaries because I hear this all the time too. I'm setting boundaries with my kids and they don't respect it. My mother-in-law doesn't respect it. And then I say, give me an example. And almost always I'll say, like, with love and respect, that's not a boundary.
So give me an example of one that's not a boundary.
I tell my kid over and over not to jump on the couch. They know not to jump on the couch. They're old enough. They know better. They do that. I tell my mother-in-law not to stop over unexpectedly. Like, she has to tell me, and she keeps doing it. They keep violating my boundaries. Neither of those are boundaries. Here's my definition, and it's super simple and usable. A boundary is something you tell someone you will do, and it requires the other person to do nothing.
Okay, give me an example.
Okay. A boundary with the mother-in-law who stops by would sound like this. Hey, look, I don't want it to get to this. I think I've asked you a lot of times. Please call before coming over. There's a reason for that. It's the order of our day. I don't do great when I'm startled. And so I just want to tell you, this is new, and I hope it doesn't get to this, but the next time you come over unannounced, I will come to the car and say, no, I can't have you here for a visit. I know it's going to be hard for both of us. That is what I'm going to do. A boundary is something I tell someone I'm going to do, and it requires someone else to do nothing. So someone doesn't respect my boundary, it's not even part of the equation, because when we say that, we're saying I'm giving away all of my power to someone else.
What if a boundary is unreasonable?
What does that mean?
What if it is the other way around, where it's the parent-in-law who says, these are my grandkids.
I'm going to come over to your house.
I'm going to come over to your house. And if you don't let me in, then I'm going to sit in the driveway. They follow the same, schematic, except it's an unacceptable boundary because it's not their family, not their home.
I found your key and I got a copy and I'm going to come in whenever I want. I just want to let you know that. Great. So I think
if you don't let me in, I'll just let myself in. It's just, that's my boundary.
Right. To me, I love the idea of this.
Because I'm just seeing how these things escalate into fights.
So a boundary is something you tell someone you will do, and it requires the other person to do nothing. The reason that matters and is so usable is anytime after someone hears that definition and they set what they think is a boundary, they can just check themselves. Did I tell someone else? And does it require the other person to do nothing? So I want to say it again
because it's really important. A boundary is something that you will enforce and they have to do nothing.
That's right. Now, another more general way to think about a boundary, it's just not as practical and actionable to evaluate whether you're setting one, is I believe a boundary is a way of telling someone what you need to continue being in a relationship with them that feels good to you. That's really why boundaries strengthen relationships. This is what I need. My mother-in-law, I need you to come over while you've announced it, because that's what I need to still feel good in our relationship.
Yeah.
I want to preserve that feeling. So if someone said to me, hey, I just want to let you know, I'm going to come over to your house and I already have a key and I'm going to open the door whenever I want to come in. What I would say back is, ooh, that does not work for me. That does not work for me.
Boundary v. boundary.
Yeah, that does not work for me. And I try to diffuse it by trying to get to the underneath. It sounds like you want to see the kids a lot more than you have access to them. If that's what let's figure that out. I think there's another way. You want to see them more. I want some, announcement that we have to have some middle ground.
Okay,
here.
so this is really, really important. What is happening here, it's not boundary versus boundary. It's listening skills, which is when somebody sets a boundary that you and I would interpret as inappropriate or unacceptable, because such things exist. The person on the receiving end of it, instead of saying, absolutely not, don't you dare, I don't want this to become a fight, what you were talking about is listening skills. And what I heard you say was, I hear that what you want is to see more of the kids, that you want access to the kids. I hear you. And it's not saying that their boundary is wrong. It's helping them get the thing that they want.
That's right.
But in a way that is conducive to the relationship and to your family. Let's sit down and go through our calendars and find all the times you can have with the kids. Let's give you that.
To me, that's a superpower from a communication standpoint. And I talk about this with parents all the time. This happens with in-laws. This happens with kids all the time. Where when someone doesn't feel like they're being taken seriously, or when someone doesn't feel like they're being believed, this is true for all of us. We all escalate the nature of our communication to try to get believed. That, unfortunately enough, leads the other person to usually get more aggressive and invalidate more, which sadly enough leads the other person to escalate the expression even more. And you can see this awful cycle. So I would say it's about, do we want to be right or do we want to be effective? We try to be effective. So if you want to be effective, and this is a person, whether it's your mother-in-law or your kid or someone at work that you want to stay in a relationship with, the skill to develop is, what is the wish under the escalation? What is the thing that needs to be believed? I think the thing my mother-in-law needs me to believe is that she really loves my kids and she really wants to see them and she feels shut out. One way of solving that is coming over unannounced with a key. But she's probably only bringing that up because she almost feels so desperate to let me know how much she wants this. And if I don't respond on the surface to the escalated words, but kind of respond to like the pain and the very believable wish underneath, we're probably going to be able to get somewhere.
And as you said, if you fight the behavior, all you're doing is invalidating the feelings, and it makes somebody double down on whatever they're trying to achieve or get or feel seen or feel heard, whatever it is. Why do we fight with our parents or get triggered by our parents in a way that nobody else triggers us? Like I have a temper with my parents. I don't have temper with anybody.
Yep. Well, I think what you're really also saying is just like, what are our triggers, right? So
but why do parents more than anyone else in our lives bring it out in us?
They're the people you have the closest attachments with. So triggers are memories of our past that are interrupting in the present. That's what they are. They're things that were never
Triggers are
healed.
memories from our past that are interrupting in our present. Okay.
Triggers are unhealed memories, and they're not just one memory. They're patterns from our past that come alive in our present. So what might that mean? If someone goes, whenever my parents says something, even in the realm of criticizing, which is like, oh, you brought this salad for Thanksgiving. And I heard this recently from a friend. It's like, you're always criticizing me and I can never be good enough for you. And later the person's like, wow, I don't know, maybe my mom just was surprised I brought arugula, whatever it was. Okay, so that would be a trigger. So what's going on inside, right? This is a memory. And the reason I think the word memory around triggers really matters is people say all the time, I don't remember how my parents responded to my tantrums. I don't really remember how my parents responded when I made a mistake. We have such a limited definition of memory, as if memory is only the thing we can verbally produce for someone else. Memories that we can verbally produce were integrated for us. People gave us a story. That's why we ingested a story and can verbalize a story. Most of our memories do not exist. The vast majority of them were things that happened that lived in our bodies, meaning my body registered my parents looking really disappointed with me if I got anything but a 95 or above. Or my body had so many times where I made a small mistake and I was met with immediate criticism instead of curiosity. Why did you always forget your You know, you always lose your jacket, Simon, versus, hey, you're forgetting your jacket. Like, you're a smart kid. I know you want to be responsible. What's the system we can come up with? So let's just say that was true in your childhood. In general, when you struggled, it was met with criticism and judgment rather than some type of like boundary, curiosity, actual skill building like we've been talking about. Then what does your body do? Your body's always forming circuits, right? You're born with 25% of your circuitry. By age 3, it's 75. By age 5, it's 90.
Wow.
These are, yeah, okay. And so when people say, I don't remember, it's always interesting. Your body and how you react to your triggers are your best teachers for everything that happened in your early childhood. And if you start to look at them that way, you have an unlock for all of the things that need healing and reworking to be the sturdiest version. So then what probably happened, little Simon, right, when you were younger, was like alone with this, oh my God, I'm a bad person. I always lose my jacket and I get a bad grade on my math test and I hit my sister and I only hit her because she said I was a poo-poo head, but no one even knew that. And so you're left with this affect that's called unformulated affect. Why is it unformulated? Because kids need adults to formulate it for them. Hey, you hit your sister. Totally not okay, but what happened? Oh, now I integrate it. Unformulated affect just lives free floating in your body. And so if that happens, not one time, as a pattern, I always feel criticized. I'm not seen for the good inside, right? In those moments. Then when things happen in our adulthood, where someone says, oh, you brought that salad, our body goes in and basically does an inventory. What do I know about how to respond in situations like this? Well, you do the same thing you probably did as a kid. As a kid, you know what you had to do to cope with that? You probably had to yell at yourself. What's wrong with me? I'm a horrible person. I'm always criticized. You have to make sense of it. You have to blame yourself if you don't have a story. And so here you are in adulthood, reliving something that honestly isn't even happening in 2024 or 2025. It's probably happening in like 1980.
So I had a terrible, terrible, terrible temper as a kid. It's non-existent now. I think most of my friends, even the team, most people have never seen me angry. And I'm not repressing it. I'm just very good at managing anger and expressing it. I can say to somebody, I'm really angry right now. But as a kid, I mean like bad, inappropriate tempers. And screamed at, yelled at, told to go to my room, because this energy has to come out somewhere. Broke things, smashed my room up. Got yelled at for smashing up my room, got yelled at for screaming and yelling and kicking things in my room and things like that. So it just made it worse. And I got even more. And it stopped when I took my favorite thing and I broke it. And then when I finally calmed down, I'm like, I just broke my favorite thing. Totally personally accountable, right? And this has been my story, which is my temper stopped when I realized it was only hurting me.
But yeah. But, you know what I was going to say, but? Did you know I was going to say that?
But in this session, talking to you, I've realized what I wanted was in these periods of losing control and fully aware that I've lost control, fully aware that I'm not in control of my own. All I actually wanted was for somebody to make me feel calm and safe. Yeah. And it didn't happen. I got locked not locked, but left in my room until I calmed down.
Yeah.